Tom Sullivan.
And thanks for joining us. Here's what I have at the top of the stack. We will get to the topic of the Fed in a moment. But first, beyond all the computer problems, the big issue this week was the knowledge that the White House knew that there would be massive insurance policy cancellations, which would pressure people to sign up for a mostly broader but also mostly more expensive health insurance policy. What happened to our freedom to choose a policy, good or bad, that we like and fits our budget? When did we say it's okay for the government to decide that a product we have purchased isn't good enough for them? Joining me now, a man who preaches liberty, former Texas Congressman Ron Paul. And Congressman, great to see you with your nice new studio and everything else there. But and I want to get to the Fed with you in a little bit, but I want to start off because you're a medical doctor, and I look at this and it seems like they're trying to sell the whole idea about health care. This is simply a financial product that they're trying to sell. And I was in the investment business for a long time. You can't be just technically correct. You've got to really explain everything to the public. Do you feel they're doing that?
No, obviously, unless they're doing it all on purpose, and some people suspect that they might be, in order to drive this whole medical care system in a certain direction. But it is a service as well, and it's being delivered from Washington through central economic planners, which, you know, most conservatives and free market people don't like. But it's not like this just started. This is sort of the climactic end to this efforts. But, you know, they started messing around with medical care in the federal government, you know, for 40, 50 years in the 1960s. And every time they mess with it, they make it worse. And this, the ulterior motives here, I keep trying to figure it out because I work on the assumption that the insurance companies are going to come out pretty well on this. And it looks like, you know, this is what's happening. They're allowed to raise the rates and take people off. And even prescription drug program the Republicans put in place help corporations. They help them relieve their burden and put it on to the burden of the overall taxpayer. So I think we keep drifting that way, but it's incrementalism. This episode is much worse, and the people are very upset with it. I don't see how it can possibly work, but the emphasis ought to be on liberty and freedom of choice. You mentioned that. Why don't we have freedom of choice? Even when the government intrudes on us in many of these areas, if you just allow the right to opt out in spite of what harm the government is doing, most of the time we can survive. The people will figure it out. And I think we should have the right to opt out of medical care. I think we should have the right to opt out of government schools. We ought to have the right to opt out of the government mail service and all these things. So, but we're at crucial times right now, and it really makes the difference on what happens on whether we will preserve the doctor-patient relationship, which is the most important issue for me.
Yep, I can imagine. But, you know, you look at this, and the government has been very paternal with us for a long time under the guise of consumer protection. In fact, we even have a brand new consumer protection agency. So they're saying, we're here to protect you. This is just another extension of us, the big paternal government, protecting you from those evil insurance companies. And you need a villain, and insurance companies are easy to blame.
Well, that's traditional. The do-gooders always say we have to take care of the people. Community Reinvestment Act was to take care of the consumer and protect them against the evil bankers who wouldn't give out bad loans. So expand the credit and give out bad loans, give everybody a house, and the value of the house goes up and everybody is happy until the bubble bursts. But it was all done in the name of protecting the consumers. The regulations ultimately help the big guys. You know, if you have banking regulations, usually the bankers are behind the scenes writing the regulations. If you have regulation on drugs, it's the drug companies that write the regulations. And most of the people in Washington are well-meaning. They say, well, we really have to protect the people against these evil bankers and the evil drug companies. But they end up writing these regulations, and the consumer gets really hurt. And look at what happened in the housing. People lost their houses, the people that were supposed to benefit from all these programs.
But you bring up an interesting point. And again, now this week, the president has already started to throw the insurance companies under the bus, saying, we didn't cancel your policy. Those guys did. Look over there. Don't look at me. And yet at the same time, if I was an insurance company and you came to me and you said, what we're going to do is we're going to try and get the people off of those $50 policies and make them pay $500 for a policy I would go, wow,